Yeah. That's right.
Call the meeting to order of the Public Safety and Public Works Committee.
And I make a motion to adopt the agenda as.
And I will second that.
Motion made and seconded to adopt the agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approval of the minutes of October 3rd.
Yep, I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
Second. Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes of October 3rd. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
CJ is excused today.
Yep.
Public comments, any public comments? Nothing. Don't see it. Receipts of information, the supervisor is not seated. Don't see anybody seated. Update from Administrator Netherland.
Yeah, just a couple of things. We've got a new round of broadband grants available, and I'm happy to report that we have 3 applications going in from Polk County, 2 from Lakeland and 1 from Northwest Communications out of Amory. And so that's good. So as we suspected, once you get the skeleton out there, so to speak, now they're gonna start filling in certain areas. So that's a good sign. Won't know for a while if they get the grant, but they continue to apply. And Northwest is certainly still interested in our support if in fact they get the grant. You know, they will lay the line to the house. So the other program we have is the municipal housing loan program. In fact, that letter is written and ready to go out. So just as soon as the budget gets approved, assuming that it remains in the budget, we will send that out. And I suspect that we'll have a few communities reaching back to us about using those funds. And then finally, I'll just say the sales tax numbers keep coming in every month, and we are seeing, as we did sort of anticipate, a slowing down of our sales tax. So keep buying those Subway sandwiches and paying those sales taxes. Helps our county. It's down to about, it's still almost 5% over what it was last year. So that's good. But I think we've been running 8 to 11% over for the last few years. So slowing down a little bit.
If that referendum goes in Minnesota, there'll be a lot of people coming over here spending their money. That's to be a 10% sales tax.
Is that right? I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
That's the city of St. Paul.
St. Paul, yeah.
Oh,
If they vote their increase today, they'll be at 10%.
Just about. Yeah.
Okay, update from Public Works.
I am sitting in for Mo. So I got some handouts for you. Thanks, Rod. There's 4 different ones here, so.
I'm trying to get some sleep before December 1st.
Yeah, he had some appointments.
Pictures, that's good. I'll do that. Yeah, that was pretty well a success, I guess. Huh? No recycling, electronics.
Yeah, that's a big success.
Yeah. Back to Judge Rasmussen, him and Sherry were gonna put some stuff in there. We had, and they waited, it was 4 hours.
So on all the handouts that I gave you, the first 2 of them are for the project notification and request for public comment on 2 of the road projects. One's on 35 and then one's on 48. So you can read through those. There's an update from the executive director, Patrick Vander Sanden, at the WCHA meeting that Mo handed out. And then the last one was the recycling electronics. We collected 17 tons of electronics that for our clean sweep. And there were, if any of you were by that area during that time, there were many cars that went through and miles of traffic, which Sheriff, you guys probably got quite a few calls on that. On the Clam Falls Dam, the drawdown is complete. We're gonna be doing a pre-construction meeting December 1st, and then everything should go out for bids here in the next couple weeks. It'll be in the paper. The recycling center remodel, we're waiting for the start date from Berghammer so we can get footings and everything hopefully poured yet this year to start the shell of that, so they can have inside work during the winter. But we're waiting on Berghammer to let us know when that is. The Justice Center roof, they're finishing the flashing and the metal. They had to back order some of the metal flashing and the coloring. So that should be being complete in the next couple of weeks, weather permitting. The Government Center remodel, we're just doing punch list items yet. So we're in the process of seeing if we even have to do the railings in the south stairwell after long talks with the engineers and everything on that. The museum bell tower, the windows are almost complete. If you notice that I even hired them to do the uppers, that would almost, you probably could have pushed out onto the sidewalk if you'd have wanted to, because they were that rotted. So I had them piece by piece. He actually reconstructed all those and remade every one of those. The windows are almost complete. Underneath that, the school and the doors have started at the museum, so we'll be putting in doors of distinction. They got had a partial grant, and then part of my funds are funding some of that also to replace the doors. 3 doors on the everyone except the north door. As of right now, will all be back to wood period looking doors. And the coal room has been completed. We removed the coal room, the roof that's been leaking for years and years. So that's done. Highways finishing up culverts on County Roads B and V. And they did a project for the parks on C, where we made an approach for the going over the Stour Trail. And then the K Bridge is expected to be open on the 15th of this month. So that's all I have.
These two you give me are both the same. Did I get one wrong one?
I thought they both start out the same, but I thought one of them
Here's
was
the difference, John. 548.
Yeah.
Right there. Right. Like I can't see where I'm at.
Oh,
One is
88,
48.
8820. Yeah, okay, I see the number now. Yep.
Project 1.
Luck and Siren and Frederick and McKinley.
Good job, yeah.
Questions at all? For
I don't have a question, but I have just a comment from the last meeting. I'm trying to get my time schedule right, but I thought we were at the last meeting and you had completed the drawdown. So the next day I told my wife we needed to go for a ride. And it was really interesting to go look at the difference now, with it.
Yeah, I looked at it.
Did you go up there? Yeah, I
Yeah,
just found
it's-
that really interesting.
Well,
What's
about the
interesting-
space, you mean?
Well,
What's
just-
interesting, if you go in that powerhouse, all the old mechanisms are still there, but they built that building on the bedrock. So that if you go into the basement, and then there's a basement in there, you can actually see the building is going around the rock.
Really?
Yeah, so.
Is that all gonna remain or is that gonna be gone?
It's gonna remain, but they're gonna pour a slurry in there, so it'll be encapsulated with concrete. And they'll have to try to figure out, they'll drill into the bedrock to make everything stationary. so it doesn't go and shift anywhere anytime soon.
That's all I just did. Smooth driving up there.
This update, I don't know if everybody's aware of that green light. We're trying to get green light passed for public works vehicles, snow plows and the sort. So they're standalone color, so they're
So,
warning lights.
oh, you have blinking green.
Yeah, and I don't know how far it's getting, but the utilities got involved, like power companies. They want it in. So then, I don't know, it's kind of floundering right now. So if it's gonna get forward or not.
Wonder who's got the jurisdiction on that. It's been a topic for as long
Be
as
your
I.
legislators, legislation have to be.
Anyway, they're working on it, trying to get a standalone color for snow plows.
The towns, I mean, the road
WCHA,
association.
yeah. And
Well, they got a lot of lobbying power.
Yeah.
Well, good, hopefully.
okay, any other questions for Rod? Okay. So Sheriff Walk, you're up.
Passing around the numbers for you to look at. It's the July through September drug numbers that our county produced. 42 felony cases for the quarter, and I want to point to that, you know, July and August are two of the busiest months for us as a whole. So sometimes our numbers dip a little bit because a lot of this is self-initiated activity. Officer makes traffic stop, finds some meth. And in the busy season, we don't get as much time to do our traffic enforcement because we're chasing calls. And it has been one of the busiest summers we've had. So still 65 drug cases in out of 90 days. That's pretty good. Almost a half a pound of meth seized in that time. 170, 180 grams roughly of meth, which is just under a half pound. That's a considerable amount. Broke it down again, they always show the week. It's kind of funny. Sunday and Monday seems to be the 2 days this last quarter where meth was more prevalent. So it's hard to wrap your head around that while a lot of people are going to church or doing normal stuff, meth is floating around our county. So it's always kind of interesting just to look at that data and try to figure out why that is. I just wanted to touch on that. That's really all I have. I did want to just kind of make a statement to you guys that a couple weeks ago, I got an email from Public Health that they were considering looking at this state program where they're going to hand out Narcan test strips so that drug people could test their drugs before they use them.
Not Narcan.
Or I'm sorry, fentanyl, fentanyl test strips. So that illegal drug users could test their drugs before they use them. And I just put an email back that I'm adamantly opposed to that. I think fundamentally in law enforcement, that would be going backwards. You know, to say that there's a safe way to use illegal drugs to me is an oxymoron, that we shouldn't be looking at the problem in that respect. So I did share that email with a few people, and just that may stimulate some discussion amongst your group. And I'm certainly happy to be part of that discussion. But from a law enforcement standpoint, that really goes against what I think is a way to combat this problem. We're only enabling people versus, you know, trying to make people stop using the drug. You know, if death is not enough deterrent in using the drugs, I don't know what we can find that will, you know.
Right.
So if you hear any scuttlebutt on that, I just wanted you to hear from my mouth that I oppose any of that type of ideology.
I agree with you.
Thank you.
Who seems to be the proponent of this?
Well, it was Wisconsin Department of Health, the DHS, and it was their program, some
Do you
funding,
think it's all right?
apparently.
Sure.
So I know the discussion stopped at the county level, which I was happy to see. They didn't have their meeting on it, but I don't know where it's gonna go, but I just want you to know that I don't think that's the answer to combat our substance abuse problem. I don't think that's the answer, and I'll stand by that.
I think-
Well, our county association should be well aware of opposition to that.
Well, I understand the health issue and understand their position. I mean, they're there to save lives if they can, you know. But for a law enforcement position and a deterrent, I don't think I think it would increase if.
Maybe
that
if we could track where every one of those test kits go, then we could
Maybe you can do
get these
that.
numbers up a little bit maybe, but.
Put a tracer on it.
What's,
Beepers.
what's the value of a half a pound of meth?
Yeah, it's a lot, you know, keep in mind, when we find meth, a lot of times, it is in the tiniest little tiny Ziploc, you wouldn't even think they can make it, it's called a gem bag. You wouldn't think they could make a Ziploc, it's like something you put a ring in or a piece of jewelry. That's typically the fine amount of crystals you find when you're talking about meth, so a half pound is quite a bit.
Yeah, it seems like it to me, geez.
Some of the years we've had we found 7 pounds of meth once, you know, that's a large score. But normally when you find meth, it's the user level. And they just got a little bit of it because it's, you know, they can't let it sit, they gotta use it, so. But it's interesting that, you know, we don't have to look hard and far to find it, so. I'm certainly open to conversations on how we combat the problem, but I don't think that particular thing I mentioned is the appropriate course.
The biggest gem or luck you got in finding it is in traffic stops, isn't it?
Right, in the dogs, we have the canines out working every night, so.
Yeah.
That's been a great resource. I do redact the names of the people that find it, and one of our top finders is one of our canine handlers, so that's what you expect to see.
So this doesn't include any municipal officer stuff, this is just.
No, it is, there is, if you notice, there is some,
Oh, gotcha.
the state patrol is mentioned on there, St. Croix Falls Police, Milltown Police. So yeah, they do this reporting system for all the drugs. We track that quarterly. I would also mention my drug investigator has been off on maternity leave as well, so we've had a little break on that. That's a good break. All right, thank you.
Is he gonna discuss that next resolution?
Oh, do you want to talk about that tower thing at all? It's under your name.
Sure.
Don?
Verizon Wireless would like to do some upgrades to their equipment on our Johnstown tower. Before in the past, anytime they wanted to do any type of adjustments or change of equipment, we've done a resolution for it.
Okay.
There's a financial gain. They're gonna pay us an extra $100 on their rent per month, so.
Okay. Yeah, I read it. I understand what it's about, but
Can I make comment? on
go ahead.
it? Verizon wants to build a tower in town of Farmington on the Nancy DeRozier property. And it's within 100 yards of the road. Between County Road X and 30th Avenue. Just 1 mile. This is where the air base is. This is right east of the air base and then to the left. And so we had a big meeting in the town of Farmington last night at the town board meeting. And there was a gentleman there from Horizon. And what we're trying to find out is who actually has the jurisdiction. Town of Farmington has their own zoning. And nobody at the meeting, and there was packed house, there were probably 30 people there. Nobody at the meeting is opposing the cell tower, but what we are opposing is being that close to 6 residentials across the road. And I spoke with Gail Magnifice's representative about 4 o'clock yesterday. And he said the denominator is if it's 100 megawatts or less, town of Farmington has the jurisdiction. If it's over 100 megawatts, then it's just a formality of the state signing off on it, which he said they'll always do. And we tried to get this a representative to, hey, everybody said if you put it in the middle of the section, fine. Well, make your own driveway and put it, but they wanna use it. Don DeRosa passed away about 2 years ago and his wife Nancy signed it. And it's just, the residents had letters there from 3 different realtors, how it would evaluate their property. Couple of them said they figured an average of 20%, and a couple of the realtors said that people just walk away when they're that close to a cell tower. There's apparently not radiation right underneath the cell tower, but within so many yards or so, the radiation increases. And there's something about lightning, if it strikes the cell tower, it can affect the wells and that within a mile away. There's a lot of deterrent to having a cell tower in the wrong place.
Was that over 100? Was that?
We can't,
They did.
I can't, nobody can figure out like a radio station, you know, they work on these megawatts.
Yeah,
And, you know, like a lot of these radio stations are closing from where it used to be. Because when they go to over 100 megawatts, it's more expensive and it's, the thing we're trying to determine now, and I haven't got any help on it so far, is, you would think it'd be in the application, well, we're at so many megawatts, but it's not.
we'll deny it, find out.
Well, that's what the town board said, you know.
Yeah.
We're,
You'll find out soon enough.
so just bring it up to Dana.
Okay, John, thanks. Supervisor Rowdy.
Yeah, it sounds like a full record, but they had a discussion today, excellent discussion on working toward, as we know, we're working toward fall and winter. And so some of these projects have to get done. And they're talking signage in the Gandy, and that's not that, it's important, but it doesn't have to be done till starting next spring. And then I guess trail repair is a big issue because the clubs are trying to finish up and get the trails done. They were gonna grind some stumps and do some brush repair. They got a lot of projects going because their machinery is gonna be tied up for, I guess, the next 2 months approximately, for sure. And then bridge repair has always been a big subject since even before we had the committee that I've heard about. Because you've got some that crosses rivers and places like that, and then you've got ones on, I forget in luck there, I should know exactly what it is, but the bridge got hit by
270th.
270th, and it needs a beam repair. And they're going back and forth. I've heard some of this before, but they're going back and forth with an engineer where he wants to rebuild everything. You talk to Todd and the clubs and say, if they put in a beam, they'd be good. So, you know, but it's dealing with all of the different issues of trying to finish a project. It's just very frustrating.
I don't know where he did it, but B&B, Mark Butcher, said that he ground 220 stumps on the trails someplace.
You'd have to ask Rod, because I don't know exactly where that.
That would have been the club getting them to do all those. Wouldn't have been on any of our state trails or anything.
That's a new trail between Cedar Lake and Clear Lake.
New trail.
It's a new trail. It's
Is there
25
a
miles,
name of it or anything?
30. 30, and it goes right from the end of Clear Lake and follows the county line all the way across.
Yeah. Mark said he ground 220 stumps that week on the trail. He's a big user, so.
And of course, everybody's waiting for the Stour decision, so.
Bill, you got anything on that?
Again?
Again, yeah.
Again?
Nothing? No update?
No update on the tower.
Right.
Time gets shorter, you know.
By consensus, it can be.
Hasn't that Jug Black put in for retirement?
He did.
I think he said he's not going to run again when his term is up.
April?
I'm not sure when his term is up.
2026. I don't. You'll be long gone, Johnny.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions for Supervisor Rowdy? Hearing none, we'll move on to update from CJCC. I assume that's Don.
So I can provide that since Melissa's on maternity leave, and she and the baby look fantastic, I might add. We have 9 participants currently in treatment court, 1 in IDIP, which is the intoxicated driver program, and a couple in substance diversion for a total of 12. So we're low right now. We are working on the TAD grant, which is due next week, and things look good for getting it submitted on time. We're looking forward to getting that reawarded.
I think they said there wasn't gonna be any graduations till probably December or something like that, so.
Yeah, probably January.
Anybody got any questions?
No.
So discussion possible action regarding support and implementation of county board priorities. I think where we left that, Vince, was you and Mo were gonna talk. Or?
Yeah, well, we did talk and he kind of said, I asked him, you know, what was the process? You rated your projects. And so we put the top projects in the budget. Your question was, if you could pick another one, what would it be? And he recommended County Highway E, I believe, correct? Up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it wasn't in the list for 24. I think it would be in 25. So I think, you know, it's one of those things, if the board decides to amend the budget and put it in next Tuesday night, you know, it would be like a little over $1.1 million, which would come out of our general fund.
County Road E is getting pressure from the Barron County Commissioner because he lives in Siren and he has to take County Road C to work or E to work
At our,
up across it.
Yeah.
at our district meeting, oh yeah, chief, you
Yeah,
heard the same thing.
Yeah.
yeah.
We're getting pressured on
But-
that.
You know, I don't know if we need to pick on such a big project. And there's no reason why we couldn't divide that in half. I know.
Yeah.
You know, nobody likes to do half a section
Sure.
of road, but.
The- If, the way I look at it is you've got a lot of projects that might be very important to do. We prioritize them. Infrastructure is one of the key priorities, but maybe rather than saying, since infrastructure is a priority, let's pick a road and fix it. It should probably be something that the division and the division director and the county administrator and the committee talk about, and over time develop. If we really want to make an impact on infrastructure, what is our best route to go? And it may be a highway, it may be something else. So while it's a worthy project, I don't know that it's the most worthy project for $1 million. But it can be done, but it would take an amendment or a proposal on Tuesday night, and the board to vote on it.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to see that. I would think that, you know, we have a year then to do something about our priorities. I mean, we sit here every month and we don't really, other than what, we don't go above and beyond what the budget
Right.
is. And we don't really, though we improve highways, we don't gain.
Right.
You don't gain on it. So that's my whole emphasis for.
I get it.
You know.
And there may be, and you're right, you'd say, well, do we what do we do for the next budget preparation, which will begin in probably a few months. But you might decide that there is a road that maybe affects more people than I don't know. Or if it is, if a road deteriorates to the point where it really needs done and Lowe's division has the capacity, then you can always do a budget amendment. I mean, if it's an obvious, you'd think if it's a priority and it's an obvious decision, you could pass a budget amendment at any time.
We pretty much do have it set for the 25 budget. don't we?
Yes, that's in his plan, yes.
My comment would be the last steering committee that I was at 2 weeks ago. We had some comments from our county budget director. And he said, just be careful. There's a change in the economy is coming. I think you just told us a little bit about sales tax. And 24 is gonna be different than 21, 22, and 23. I think we pretty well know that.
So I guess if, I guess if I sensed a committee, for example, saying, this is really important for our county, it's a priority, and this is the road that we want to do, I would think you would have enough pull to the board meeting, you could make the good case. If it's something that you go, well, let's do more for infrastructure, what are we gonna do? I don't know that that's enough to say, I mean, it's up to you guys.
I mean, if you're gonna improve it, it's gonna cost money.
Yeah.
And if you do the numbers, I know it never worked out the whole time I was the commissioner. You're losing the end.
Yeah.
Okay, you're not gonna get there. So it'll only get worse. So that's why I raised the concern that we're not doing anything toward that goal. So I don't know, I guess we should have started the conversation a little earlier in the year. But we keep hearing these numbers where we may have a little extra here and a little extra there. And don't get me wrong, I'm not the one that just want to jump out there and spend it.
Right.
But I do want to see the committee do something about the goal.
Well, that's where I think you get the divisional director, his staff and the administrator and this committee and start putting together a plan to say, okay, what are our most important infrastructure needs? We know roads and so on, and is our best guess to expand that budget? Or is there a building? Is there, some other need that needs to be done, and then make that plan, make it a priority.
I mean, I guess you're doing something even if you extend, increase that budget at all, because it hardly ever gets increased.
Yeah.
It gets decreased.
Well,
So,
that's true.
yeah, so I mean, like all the budget numbers do.
Yeah.
But, so even if you were to talk about an increase in the budget for next year, you'd be accomplishing the same thing. At least you got an increase in the
That is
budget.
true. I mean, it doesn't mean too, and Rod, you would maybe know better than I do, but if we worked in a way to work as quickly and as efficiently as possible, and as we get closer to the end of the year, could you say, halfway through the year to say, let's reinvestigate another road if we have the capacity? And that's where, you'd have to talk to Mo about what their capacity is to do it, how the budgets are going, how the funding is looking.
Well, that's
Yeah.
something for a new commissioner to really delve into, I would assume. We're gonna have a different look at it from the top.
Well, I think it's a little late in the game for us to do anything before budget now, to have additional meetings, and I mean, it can't be done.
Unless I've heard about sufficient support where all supervisors are saying, let's do it, but I'm not hearing that.
Yeah.
That won't happen.
Well,
You don't think so, huh, Johnny?
you
So
better-
Okay.
could I ask you, Mr. Chair, your outlook on this project?
Well, it's
Being
never,
it's on the table right now and we're having conversation. I think the goal-
it's always, historically, it's always been that the money's gonna run out before the highway's fixed.
Yep.
Okay, I mean, that's a given. The type of service we do to the surface of the road only lasts so many years and and cycles around, and I'm sure you've heard plenty about it, but I'm okay just letting it sit there, I guess, for now, but I won't be okay if we don't do something about it. Because what's the sense in having that if you're not gonna do anything about it,
Right.
you know?
And I
I
think
mean,
that's
and I think a
the
fair amount of money has been spent on the structure, the infrastructure building wise. And I think highways getting left in the dust. That's what I think. I know we had to do all the, you know, you had to do it. But, so that's my reason for,
So where we're at is if somehow we want to get this in the 24 budget or 25 budget, that's,
We got 24 budgets already. Hopefully it's set.
well, aren't we talking that could be an add-on?
Well, that if somebody wanted to make that amendment,
That'd be amendment.
but if you do nothing, my guess is that that would be one of the first projects on the list for 25.
In the project you're talking about is County Road E, is that correct?
yeah,
And that's how many miles of County Road E were looked at?
4.74.
All the way from over to
from
I.
48 to,
I.
is it I or W?
W.
W, yeah. I just drove it the other day.
County Road E
But-
from to.
W, County Road W, T's to E.
Yeah.
Straight, you go straight west or east of
Well, yeah, I
Frederick.
know the country well.
But, yeah, from there to 48
Oh,
in McKinley,
Kinley,
so, you know,
goes past Largan Lake and
well, I thought that if you take it from 35 to Indian Creek, I mean, God, you better get some new shocks before you get that far.
you know,
It's
I
really
don't know that it's worth us pushing a $1.1 million. But, you know, after the budget's approved this year, I think we need to start looking at what can we do to make, you know, and you know, if there's any carryover from highway, can we emphasize that that's directed toward other
Right.
improvements? You know, then we're doing
I
something, but
think that's-
otherwise, we're just sitting here looking at what we're gonna do and we're not really pushing the issue to do something, so.
I would agree with you 100%.
is it 1 million? Is that strictly county? Is there any?
There's no other money, that's
That'd be
milling and overlaying that stretch of highway. So
our responsibility.
I think it's pulverizing, if I remember right. I think he was gonna pulverize the whole thing.
Pulverize and that should be done a year before, almost.
Well, yeah, I mean, county roads is hard to do
Yeah, I
that
bet.
too, but town roads.
Town
that's
road
easier.
differently.
Anyway, enough said, I guess. Don't wanna sound like a broken record.
No, I think you're doing the right thing because that's how initiatives get started by staff is to say, okay, what is our next steps for infrastructure? What is it we want to do to secure us going into the future? And it just starts like this.
Good
Yeah.
idea.
How much does the highway commissioner and your people discuss something like this and bring it to our committee, or what's kind of the process? Do you have any insight on this?
Well, we get it, don't we?
Yeah, when we do our
Projects.
long-range master plan, a
Yeah.
lot of that is on there. So we have our, you know, based on our dollars, we gotta
We
prioritize
get
on
it
our
every
end.
year. Yeah,
Yeah, he's got a, I don't know, I haven't seen his CIP, but
Yeah.
it's 6 years out probably.
Right.
It always, it always
Yeah.
was for me.
That should be at the top, I mean, regardless of.
Yeah, I mean, you do some moving around on that, depending on how the road's held up.
Right.
You know, over spring and winter, or, you know. Sometimes you have to make changes, but
Getting all kinds of information on the El Nino winter or whatever.
Yeah, you're worried about that down in Arizona, aren't
Or Florida.
you?
It won't be up here. but-
We'll call each other when it looks cloudy.
so that leads us to budget amendment recommendations. I assume, Vince, you have several for us, right?
Well, this is on every committee meeting's agenda. And it's for something like this, if you said, hey, you know, our committee thinks there should be an amendment, it's your opportunity to discuss it, to try to come to some consensus, then you would present that at Tuesday night at the board meeting. So I'm not aware of any other amendments coming forward. Normally, we like to have all that done in October, because that's when the analysis and the study has all been done. But if in case there's something that needs to be changed, it's your opportunity to talk about it now.
I'm not aware of anything that, are you, that,
No, not if we're gonna
any adjustments?
not worry about this deal and just
That would
move
be the
on and
only-
start discussing it as soon as the budget's over about what we're gonna do in the future.
Let's
guess.
get her on the, you bet, put her on the agenda for December. Start early.
Everybody satisfied with that?
I am.
I don't think we need to work on the work plan unless anybody else thinks
Oh.
there's something we should
There
have.
may be one thing then, if what I hear Mr. Luke say is begin, and he just by putting it on the agenda, begin looking at our priority of infrastructure
Yeah.
and begin the discussion on what plans do we have to impact that.
That's prioritizing.
Yeah, so you
Sure,
could
that's-
begin that in December or January of next year, probably. Whatever, you could begin the discussion. When we have a new highway commissioner and a new
Yeah,
division director.
good thing to lay on them day one.
Yeah, say, what's taking you so long?
We don't have anything in February. Everything's crossed off there, so
When's the initial advertising for a new commissioner? What,
It's already announced,
It's already out there.
oh, it is?
closes next week.
Really?
Really?
I wasn't even aware they had it out there yet.
Got any applications?
I don't know how many yet.
There've been discussions with people that have expressed interest. I don't know if they've submitted their applications yet.
Within the department?
I don't think anyone internally wants it.
Really?
Well, not that they don't want it. I don't think that they feel that they're ready for
Yeah.
that responsibility.
they're new, they're relatively new in the management end of it. So,
Around the state, it is one of the, I'd say one of the most popular. We have some departments, zoning, for instance, very challenging. But when we were at our district meeting here, gee, there was, I think, about half new commissioners. weren't there?
Yeah, there were a lot of them.
So
I think, I feel confident that we're gonna have some good candidates
Good.
that we'll be reviewing real soon.
I think so.
Mo said there was a lot of interest in that too at his commissioners.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah.
A lot of talk anyway.
yeah. Some of these counties have deputy commissioners that are
Yep.
always looking around for promotion. So what are we gonna call this, Vince? Let's put it in February because we don't really have anything in February. Maybe it'd be time to start.
Let's call it,
You don't have a meeting in February, do you?
Well, we could, we don't know yet. Depends on what comes up.
We don't have anything in April either, but I mean, I don't wanna get
Well, we've been calling February off from time to time.
One thing about it, April's gonna let you know more what happened to the roads over winter.
Yeah,
So, you know, if the commissioner had a concern,
Yeah.
that may be a time that he may come forward with a more than likely,
Or she,
huh?
he or she.
He or she, yeah, sorry.
Give him,
Time.
Sorry, I blew up.
this will give him time to analyze the project a little better too, I think.
yeah, you could call it
Rural priorities.
infrastructure priority planning or
Yeah.
something.
Cool priorities. Sounds good.
Can we get that added in our plan then? In April. That way, you know, you've seen what kind of winter you've had, you know what the roads look like.
The only thing about April, it'll be the organizational, so there might be,
I'd do it in March.
yeah.
Okay,
Do it in March. You wanna, this is not something you wanna put
Yeah.
off to the last minute.
Exactly.
okay.
You can kind of set the stage in case there's any change on committees or the board, you'll already have, you know.
Yeah, at
Well, we're
least you
gonna
can get a
have
look at it with the, people who've been in the positions for a while. Okay, well, that sounds good. Subject matters for the next meeting.
I don't have any.
I don't know any.
Okay,
So when do you, Vince, when do you think
Right?
when are we gonna install a new commissioner? What's our goal?
Oh, for the highway?
Yeah.
I think a goal. Let's see, this is November. Well, by the first of the year for sure, I think, and, you know, I think we'd want to do it in December if we could, if we're gonna close the next few days, if we have the candidates we'll like, we'll interview. And we could get them started by December 1st, but that's pretty aggressive.
Yeah, I imagine there'd be some leeway as to if they had their other
Yeah.
employment,
Right, so I think first of the year would be a reasonable goal.
but it could happen in December.
and who will
Good.
interview?
Pardon?
Who will interview?
I don't think we've determined that yet. It would be Mo, I'm guessing Rod. Sometime, you know, like we interviewed for environmental services. It was Don, myself and Mo. But I know,
Statutorily, the administrator appoints for a term. The highway commissioner serves a term. Now, Mo's term was in perpetuity, more or less, because it was until it was told that the term ends. But that would be another thing that the administrator and the full board would have to determine.
Okay, well, I just,
Yeah.
when I interviewed, it was this committee that interviewed me,
oh, okay, well,
so I was curious.
I know that the commissioner reports directly to the administrator. It doesn't go up to the division.
But the board appoints the highway commissioner.
Correct,
So
or
there's a
term.
nuance there. And so that's probably something, because it hasn't happened for, I mean, that was how many years ago that Mo got it. So
Oh,
it's been a long time.
7,
when- Yeah, I
I
was
know
there,
the
man.
day.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Well, I'd like to
But,
have Steve at least there, you know,
So
too.
Well, or
talking
we
to
can just
Mo
sit
about-
in, I mean, we don't have to be part of the interview or, you know, but I think somebody from the committee should
makes
sit
sense.
in.
Well, I think the full committee should be at least able to sit in because he's the guy that the committee is working with.
They used to.
I probably won't be here myself, but I know when we hired you and when we hired Mo, the committee was, we were all in.
How long were you there, Steve?
10 years.
10 to
I
17?
do everything's in tens.
So you,
Yeah.
when you were appointed, it was before we switched over to. the
Yes, we
county
didn't have an
administrative
administrator.
form. So that made sense because the committee's kind of hired all the department heads anyway.
So I can see the different structure now. how it would
But
make
we
a
also
difference.
was there, we had a full committee, if I remember, right, when we hired Mo.
Why don't I talk to Mo? I think it makes sense for sure, Steve and Mo, but then we'll talk and say what would be the best approach, whether it be the whole committee or do we have an interview to weed it out and then final approval
I mean,
comes
there
to
might be
this
just
committee?
one
or-
perfect standout candidate, or there might be a couple, you know.
Yeah.
I think that'll impact how you want to process things. as
It's-
well.
it's a lot, highway, I think, is kind of unique in a way. Because the committee, we've been involved in all the roads and all the equipment and everything where, yeah, it's a final board vote. But on the average person on the county board is not gonna know anything about the criteria, and I just think we'd be remiss if we didn't include the highway committee as at least sitting in on the interview.
It used to be that we made the decisions on what kind of truck to buy,
Right.
but that's now in the commissioner's hands.
Yeah.
So I would hope that we have the input on the commissioner that we get so that we still have some input on what kind of truck we get.
That's what I'm trying to say, I guess.
Good,
All right.
I said it differently.
Okay,
but
anything else?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Motion made, second?
Second.
Motion made and second to adjourn, all those in favor?
Aye.